oh, this is good. We didn't even get through the conversation. And I was like, oh my God, I have to start recording this. So can we start again? They had taken me to this clip of a podcaster and somebody else who's like a religious guy speaking on the Bible. And I thought it was such an interesting clip because it's in today's day and age. Like, it's like fairly recent because I like this podcaster. And like, I know his age, and do you know what I mean? Like, it was like, it definitely had to be recent. I always say that because you never know when these things pop up. But anyway, my point is, this religious person had such a, like, that typical scary, literal interpretation of the Bible. And so I turned to God and I turned to my guides and I was like, why is that? I'm like, why is that still stuck for so many people? Like, I know I was in the dark, but I feel like if they're so public and so out there, and claim to be such scholars on so many things, how can they be so stuck there? And oh God, it was so good how they were explaining it and showing it. Let's see if I can, I know, but I don't remember how you said it before. It was something like, they have taken me to read the Bible before at lower vibrations. And when I've done that, it is scary. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so they are saying it again. Okay. And so they're like, but think about it. That is what most religious people instill, right? To turn to something outside themselves in a time of need, in a time of scare, in a time of whatever. And so it like has the message reversed or flipped, where it's like, don't look outside yourself, go within. And yet they don't know themselves within. They don't know the Lord within, the God within. So how can they be connected to all that ever was when they don't even know themselves? And so they don't even trust themselves. Like, they can't. It's like such a foreign concept. And so, being raised in 12 years of Catholic school, I was very much understanding what they were trying to show me and tell me in this way, which was very good after the clip they had taken me to of a very religious person. And so it's like a lot of the religious regurgitation and rhetoric and spout and insistence and their inability to maybe necessarily explain some things other than the regurgitation or the repetition of the Bible repeated in those lower vibrations to have that response is due to how they've continued to follow in their own fears. Like, they're so afraid to go against that literal teaching they were exposed to for fear of it happening, right? And it's like, well, it does happen. It happens to all of us all the time. Like, you've all been to hell. Hell is when you have conflicting beliefs and you can't get out of your own way. You're keeping yourself locked in hell, locked in a mental prison, and you haven't set yourself free. And once you start setting yourself free, you start to realize how trapped you really are. And so you can have hell on earth, but it's almost necessary to break free. Otherwise, you continue to remain in fear lifetime after lifetime after lifetime because you're stuck in that fear state of believing it in such a literal sense. And so, okay, did I get it out what you were saying before? Like how they were showing like all these people were nervous or fearful or scared or worried, and what do? They go to the Bible. Well, they go to the Bible when they're in those lower states. When you're in those lower states and reading the Bible, you hear it in a scary way, in a worried state, in a fearful state, in a lower state, right? And yet, when you're in a high vibration and read it, that's why I've shared with you before, sometimes it feels like such a portal, because it's amazing how you can open that book and go and hear like a million different things every time you go through it, if you go at it at every different vibration. But if you're at a really high state, you're coming from love, or you're coming from your highest state, and you go and read it, it is a love book and it is a psychology book, and some of it is very descriptive, and it's like implying a lot of sexual and a lot of like the female anatomy and like all these things. But when you don't hear it or decode it or see it, I mean, it's almost comical when you take it literally. And then, yes, I guess if you're in a really low state, it can be really scary. And that's how I felt it was taught a lot. But the chicken or the egg. In other words, I could have been in a fearful state when they were, shoving Jesus on the cross in children's faces going, look what's going to happen to you, right? Like, oh my God, who does that to kids, right? Like instilling such fear and fright. And, but it's become so normalized as an adult, and it's what they went through, and it's what you do, and we are robots, and we fall in line, and everybody follow the line, right? That it almost becomes so normalized as an adult that it's like they have forgotten how scary it can be to children to hear and see these things. And so it's almost like they don't realize they're exposing their children to such things. Yet, if it was something new or foreign, exposed the same way, they probably would be like, oh my God, the kids can't see this, right? It's like, but they have normalized and familiarized themselves with certain ways of being and speaking and language and have never decoded it or understood it or raised their vibration to digest it. And so they remain in that fearful state and are so scared to go against that grain because they really believe it literally. And so it's essentially wasting away your life. But then you're spitting in God's face, not appreciating your life, loving your life, which is what you're meant here to do. And so you're saying you aren't worthy, right? Like you're agreeing and living in that lower state and just cowering in fear. And that's the whole point. Like if, cowards don't get in. Well, cowards don't get in. It's what it is. They're cowering, but they don't see it that way. But if they opened their eyes and raised their vibration and were willing to jump into the unknown, to the present moment, not living in the fear of the past or of the future. I say fear of the past because they're living back in what they believe in their head was literal times when it was like, some of it really was just symbolism and understanding, and it's all of it. And when you read it at every vibration, it's all of it. It really is. That's why it's such a fascinating book. And we have guides directing us all the time. I've shared with you so many times. I am fascinated by. They'll have me see and experience certain things, and then take me to certain stories. And you'd think by now I've read the thing, but I haven't read the whole book. But they'll take me to like verses or chapters. And it's not eerie. I think it's cool, but it's also like crazy that how did you take me here when you just experienced and showed me this? Like, it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. And we all have this. We all have this guidance. We all have this availability. We all have this option. We all have the choice, right? You have the free will to stay in fear and not do the work of figuring out why you're in fear and facing those fears and busting through them. Or you can, sorry, I got distracted by something outside. I'm not sure what I said, but you have the choice to either face your fears or not, right? And they're showing, some people are so used to living in fear. It's like living in the chaos, this kind of thing, that it's normal to them. Really, truly. I mean, that was a big problem for me for so long. I was so backwards and so twisted. It is so confusing. And you have to untangle it, right? Because people say move towards what feels good, but you move towards things that technically it feels good for them to be in, that chaos and that fear and that drama, because it's familiar, but they don't want it. And so it's like, oh God, that means they have to figure this out and they have to face those fears. They're going to have to make changes internally and externally. Like, it's just what it is. Or they can stay with that comfortable, familiar chaos and drama and fear. It's a choice. And many opt for that and never understand why. That's why it's dangerous to say, just move towards what feels good. People don't know what the fuck feels good. They don't. They're still living in that traumatized state, that confusion and delusion, and can't get untwisted. And then there's so many people shouting so much rhetoric from their beliefs, on what they should and shouldn't do and how it should and shouldn't be and blah, 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 people are frozen. Even when they silence down, all they hear is all those people shouting all their rule books, and they're trying to follow the rules to get untangled, to get clear, and they can't. That's why I've shared with you how I continue to do it. I always will have my own work to do, but it's a big part of it. Was a large chunk of time for me. I thought it was a large chunk of time that I had to really remove myself from everybody, because everybody does have an opinion. And it's not allowing you to hear your own opinion. And it's not allowing you to see or figure out what's really going on. And it's not allowing you to ask yourself the right questions or find the teachers that do resonate with you and commit to doing that work until it's time for another one. Sometimes you'll outgrow your teachers. And but you have to figure all this out if you want to. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who have no interest in any of that, and they're very happy. What was the other thing you were showing? It's like, no, the other thing about, it's like, they're showing quite a few things, but I don't think it's maybe they just want me to talk about that. I don't know. They keep talking about hell. That was what the one clip was about with the religious teacher. And how, didn't I say that in the beginning? It's like hell on earth when you have conflicting beliefs. And it's like unconditional love is on the other side of that always. Unconditional love never leaves us. Unconditional love is waiting, willing, ready. It's us who's holding ourselves back by our own confusion and delusion and looking outside ourselves towards others. And so it's such a tangled, muddled mess because we need others and we want to enjoy others. But we also want to do the right thing. And we got to figure out, why do you want to do the right thing? And what is right and what's wrong? According to whom? And all these questions we must ask oneself in order to free oneself, to really be at a level of bliss. And yet, you have to determine what that means and how that feels. Because again, I'm saying this because I know what it means and feels for me, but somebody else could be like, no, I'm perfectly happy. I'm not looking to stir any of this up. I'm not looking to do X, Y, or Z. I don't believe this or that. Fine. It's like nobody has to, it's to each their own. There's still something more around this they want me to discuss, and I can't seem to figure out what it is. I was excited in the beginning to jump on because I thought it was fascinating how it's like people pit themselves against others purposefully with these debates and debacles, right? We had a discussion this morning in the kitchen. What was that one? It was about that. It's like people, it's almost like they don't want to create. It's like they're avoiding creating the life they truly desire by engaging in the complaining, blaming, bullshitting, arguing. It's like excuses, complaint boat. It is like arguing for your limitations. Well, I have these limits. Well, I have these limits. Well, I have these limits. Okay, well, then break them. No, I have these limits. And it's like, okay. Like, who cares? But it's like, if you don't want to bust through them and you want to stay there, then stay there. Well, no, I want to get over there. But you're bitching about it's like they don't know how to bust through them. And then they say they want to, but they actually don't want to do the work. They don't want to face that. They'd rather complain about it, and it excuses their laziness. It's an excuse to be lazy. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I can't do this because blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, I really want to get over there. Well, then fucking face those and get through that. Well, no, I can't because I have all these things. So you don't really want to get over there. If your desire to get over there was stronger than your desire to sit put, you'd figure out a way. But your desire is not stronger. You're too lazy. You don't want to do it because it's a mental challenge. It's all mental. You got to clean up your mental But people don't want to do that work because it is challenging. And the only pain we ever experience is what we perceive we're experiencing and what we're telling ourselves about it. So it is challenging and it can be extremely painful. Well, I have put myself through torture chambers trying to break through stuff. It was no easy feat, right? Like, and other things just in a snap. I mean, because there's fucking millions of lies and ties and binding and all this bullshit because we've just are so inundated by how you're raised, the people you're around, the people you continue to learn from, surround yourself with, engage with, what you listen to, hear, eat, consume, all these things, they're all affecting us in a myriad of ways. They're all affecting our mental state. Well, you need to be in charge of your mental state and keep it as clean and clear as possible. And I say it's possible because you can't not be exposed to, even as a hermit, I get so exposed to so much, right? Like we're always exposed. So it's like to honor yourself and to love yourself, to treat yourself accordingly, knowing yourself. You have to know yourself to know what is for your best mental health. But people don't take the time to get to know themselves. I mean, truly get to know yourselves. I'm not talking about this bullshit, what you do and don't like on the surface level shit. It's like, that's like the last of it. Anyway, I thought it was an interesting conversation, of which I feel like I still didn't get out the juicy part that it was so good, and I just, all right. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.